and welcome to my channel. This week we're looking at rhubarb. Love this stuff. It's supposed to be a vegetable, however we use it as if it's a dessert item. We use it as a sweet, as a fruit. Strange really, but never mind. Anyway, so this week I'm going to show you how to use your rhubarb up, because if you're anything like us, this year we have a glut of rhubarb. I've been freezing it and putting it in my freezer, but my freezer's getting a bit full, so I need to sort it out. So here we go this week with a load of rhubarb treats. Grab a cuppa, sit down and enjoy. So I'll just take you down my garden to have a look at my rhubarb. We're doing quite well with rhubarb this year. Got some leeks in there and potatoes. This is my rhubarb. It's looking a bit dilapidated because it's getting to the end of the season. So I'm just going to pull a few stalks. There's a long one. If you can see it in there, can you see? There we go. So sharp twist and a tug. There we go. Just check these ones. There's a one that will come out. You've got to try and leave a few on so it'll feed off these plants, these leaves for next year really. There isn't a lot of this one left coming up. And I like that one because it's red. Let's have a look. There's this thick one there. Can you see that? Get that one there. So sharp tug near the base. And try not to pull the plant out. And we'll go and have a look at the other one. Now this one isn't performing as well because it bolted. I didn't catch it before it bolted, unfortunately. And it's having a bit of competition with weeds. Now that's come out alright, but let's have a look. Let's take these heads off. So if we pick these up, and take the heads off. So we need to pull and then twist the head off. Pull, twist the head off, and then we're going to wash them and chop them up and put them into our rhubarb, our stewed rhubarb. And what I tend to do is, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but they seem to disappear. I take the leaves and I feed them to the cows behind me. So there's usually, oh yeah, there you go. There's some cows in the field just over there. And they usually love these. So just throw those there. They'll have those. Having a nice feed at the moment. It's a lovely day today, look at that. What a stunning view we have back here. Okay, to make stewed rhubarb, I've picked a load of rhubarb from my garden and I've washed it. All I need to do now is chop it into little pieces and put it into a pan. So chop off each end, and if it's fairly thin like this is, make it about 1 inch long. If it's thicker, you need it to be shorter. And what we're going to do is just chop it all up and put it into the pan to stew. Okay, so I'll be back with you when I've done this, which will take me a little bit of time. So, once you've got your rhubarb chopped up, put a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan. You don't have to measure it, just not tons. Just enough to cover the bottom, and then switch your pan on. Go. Put the lid on and leave it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Keep checking on it to make sure it's not boiling over or anything and making a mess of your cooker. But when it gets to the bubbly stage, which you will see, don't worry, it'll come up, you need to give it a good stir and then reduce the heat. So we'll come back to that in a minute. As you can see, it's starting to bubble now, so what I'm going to do is take a spoon and give it a stir. As you can see, it's starting to soften. So what we're going to do is just take the stuff from the bottom and put it on the top, basically stirring it. was a comment, wasn't it? And what we want to do is the rest to get softer. Now what you're ideally aiming for is some big bits and some little bits. So looks okay. It might need a little bit more water in there. So if the bottom doesn't look like it's got a lot of water in, just put a little bit in. You don't need a lot. It's just to stop it from catching. Okay. As you can see, it's cooking well now. And the aim is to just make sure that the rhubarb is cooked through. How do you know when it's cooked through? There's a question. Get a fork and spear a bit with a fork. So see this bit here? Taking a fork, just give it a spear. Now that's rock hard, so we need to leave it a bit longer. So turn your heat down slightly, so it's on a low heat. Put your lid back on and just let it bubble away for a minute or two. So about 5 minutes, doesn't take long. And while you're at it, your spoon that you've had, give it a taste. You need to know how sour it is. And that's sour. It's only been a couple of minutes, so I'm just gonna give it another stir. Don't walk away from it, whatever you do. That one's all right. See, that's cooked all the way through. It doesn't take it long, I'm afraid, so keep an eye on it. Do not walk away from it. So what I'm going to do with that is knock it off. Before it cools though, what we need to do is sweeten it, because we need the sugar to dissolve. So I've got a packet of granulated sugar here and a tablespoon. Now before I start putting sugar in this, I just want to say it's going to take a lot. This is not easy on the old sugar, so be aware of that. Usually my method is just to pour it in and hope for the best. But as I'm doing this for you, I will tell you how many spoons we get in it. We're not tasting it yet because I know it's nowhere near. Go, 3, that's 6. Depends how sweet you like it as well. Give it a taste. So it's got 6 in it. So just dip your spoon in. Oh, it's not too bad. I think another 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. As I say, it's to your own taste. Okay, let's see how that is. You need a clean spoon. No, that's bang on for me. Just a little bit of sourness there. So what I'm going to do with that is take the spoon and leave it to cool. So our first recipe is rhubarb and custard blondies. Liz, how are you doing that this week? To make our rhubarb and white chocolate blondies, what we need to start off with is 225 grams of spread or butter, whichever you want. I'm using dairy-free spread here. Okay, to that I'm going to add 200 grams of brown sugar. This is soft brown sugar, the light version. And to that I'm going to add 100 grams of normal caster sugar. That's all going in there. And I'm going to mix it around. Okay, give it a good stir so you incorporate it. And then just set it to one side for a moment while we sift our dry ingredients. And our dry ingredients in this instance are 150 grams of plain flour going in, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and 50 grams of good old bird's custard powder. Here we go. So just sift all that together. Okay, And to that, I'm going to add 100 grams of white chocolate chips. Pop those in. And then we're going to mix it through with a spatula. There you go. Mix that nicely through until everything's covered. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract to our sugar and butter mix. 2. Mix that in. Love the smell of vanilla. Next you need to add 3 eggs. To your sugar mixture, so that's 1, and beat them in carefully yourself. That's number 1 in. Number 2, there we go. And the last egg. Then once it's all incorporated, make a well in your dry ingredients. And pour all of your mixture into there. Okay, and then slowly incorporate the egg mixture into the flour. Now I don't know if you've seen any of my recipes before, but I always tell you to make sure that anything that you're adding to a batter of any sort, you should cover it in flour beforehand. It stops everything sinking to the bottom. And once you've done that, get a brownie pan which you've lined with baking parchment or you've greased really well. And we're going to pour the mixture into the pan. Just make sure you get everything. Ooh, make a noise. Take some rhubarb, stewed rhubarb, and dollop bits of it into your mixture. What we're going to do is swirl it around. I love rhubarb. So this is just rhubarb cut up into pieces, a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan, and a bit of sugar to taste. Okay, see if we need any more. So just swirl it about. It's a little bit more. It's up to you how much you put in. Don't put too much in, mind, because it will be a soggy mess if you do that. But it's up to you how you want it. So as much or as little as you want. That's it. So into an oven, gas mark 4 for 35 to 40 minutes. Our next recipe is rhubarb cobbler. I love rhubarb crumble, so let's see how the cobbler turns out. Liz, how are we going to make the rhubarb cobbler? To make the rhubarb cobbler, what we need is a reasonable size baking dish. This is about 8 by 9. And we're going to pour into that some of our rhubarb, which I've stewed already. This is my homegrown rhubarb, which I seem to have quite a lot of. So I'm going to put in there quite a bit of my rhubarb. Just pour it in, because I love rhubarb. There we go. Oops, no, maybe put that over there. And then just spread that out. You want a nice sort of inch thick layer, needs more, of your rhubarb. If you don't want as much as that, then You put less in. I know my husband's not a big fan of rhubarb, but myself and everybody else is. We go. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to put together our dry ingredients. So we've got in here 150 grams of self-raising flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And to that I'm going to add some margarine or butter, whatever you want to use. In this instance it's dairy-free spread. And we're going to cut that into the flour with our pastry cutter. It is handy to have these really cold, especially the butter or margarine, whatever you're using. In this instance, I have had it cold, however it's so hot today. It's like 30 odd degrees outside, which is really unusual. To that, I'm going to add 75 grams of oats. Couldn't think what they were called then. And I'm going to mix that in, just push it in with my knife. And then 75 grams demerara sugar. Go, all going in. And just mix it through with your knife. Don't worry about getting any big bits at this stage. It doesn't matter, it'll make your biscuits, your cobbler bit, nice and flaky if you have nice big bits of butter in there. Milk, okay, so 150 mils of buttermilk going in. Now you don't have to use buttermilk, you can use yogurt if you want, or milk even, whatever you want. It's just to bring it together. Go. And then again with your knife, just give it a stir and bring it together. It will be slightly wet, don't worry, that's what we want. The wetter it is in this instant, the better really, because it'll be nice and light and fluffy. So just scrape that off. And then we need to get a spoon to daub it over our rhubarb mixture. Taking our rhubarb mixture, we're going to put spoonfuls of our cobbler topping on top. So just little bits here and there. Okay, and that goes into an oven for half an hour. So now I'm going to do a take on cranachan, which is an old Scottish pudding made with oats and cream and raspberries, but I'm going to make it slightly different. This serves 3, by the way. So 50 grams of oats are going into a pan, a dry pan, and we're going to toast them, so you need to keep an eye on them, do not walk away from them. And we're going to toast these until they're golden. Okay, as you can see, they're starting to go golden colour, so we'll just give them a little toss. Let them get a little bit more golden, and then we're going to put them to one side to cool. They're starting to get nice. Now be careful because they will burn, so just keep tossing them. And when you think you don't want to go any further, take them off. I think that's enough for me. So I'm going to take those off and put them in a bowl. I'm going to take a tub of Elmley double cream, 270 mils this is, and pop it in. Okay. On top of that, I'm going to add some Cointreau, and we want 2 tablespoons of Cointreau. You can leave this out if you don't want it, or just put zest of an orange in, that's just as good. So that's 2 tablespoons of Cointreau and a tablespoon of honey. There we go. just this is just a light honey. It's up to you which you choose. You pop that in there. Keep it to one side in case we need to add some more. And now we're going to whip it up until it's light and fluffy. As you can see, it's starting to leave impressions in the cream. So what we're going to do is stop the mixer and have a look and see if it holds its shape. Now, it does hold its shape, but it's quite soft and the impressions aren't as strong as they should be. So I'm going to stick that in for a little bit longer. Okay, and as you can see, the impressions are staying now. So I'm going to take this off, give it a bang, give it a check, see if it's sweet enough, which it is. There you go. Once your oats have cooled, it's time to put them into your cream. So just pop them in and stir them in. Now you can keep some to one side for later if you wish to adorn the top of your crammicon. But to be honest, I think it's nice just putting the fruit on the top. So, once you've mixed in your oats, it's time to set up your dessert. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the stewed rhubarb into the bottom of my dishes. So, okay. It's a great way to use up rhubarb, this, I have to say. And then take your oat mixture and pop that on top. And you want to pile it up on here. Nice and piled, there we go. A little bit of the leftover compote or stewed rhubarb just on the top. Just so we know what's in, it says what's in there. There we go. And you can actually pop some demerara sugar on the top. Just gives it a nice sort of crunch on the top. So put a little bit in your hand. Oops, you don't want a lot. And just sprinkle your demerara sugar over the top and then pop in your fridge until you need it. That's all for this week, folks. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell next door to it so that you can be notified of all my videos as they come in. I upload on a Saturday. Also, I'd like to say if you're new here, leave a message in the description box below and I'll pop a word in there. Otherwise, if you want more fruity recipes, hit this one. And if you want a few recipes that are just light and delightful, hit this video. Thank you. Goodbye.